Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. So, before I start, again, guys, thank you so much for subscribing, liking, sharing, and supporting my message. It means the world to me. You're helping a 20-year-old, as I always say, fulfill his dreams. And to be a part of something like that, something special like that, is nothing more than beautiful, in my opinion. So, again, thank you so much. But we have more news to talk about today. So, what is knowledge, my friends? It's one of the cornerstone questions of philosophy. How do we know things? How do we know what is? How do we know what is? How do we test this? How do we observe it? Well, CNN seems to think that Facebook and big tech have that answer and know that answer better than all of us. So there's this article on CNN.com, this despicable article, which says, it was put out a day ago, yesterday, February 8th, 2021, says Facebook vowed to crack down on COVID-19 vaccine misinformation, but misleading posts remain easy to find. The thesis of this article, because it is basically an article that argues something, it is not simply an observatory article, this is not an investigative article. And this thing about CNN phrases their opinion articles to seem like news articles, when in all reality, they are postulating a thesis. The thesis of this article is that Facebook and Instagram in particular are not doing enough to stop COVID-19 vaccination myths. So, for example, when they searched up vaccine on Instagram on first time a few weeks ago, a bunch of accounts that were anti-vaxxers came up. This was bad, according to CNN. And then when they complained about it, Instagram flipped the switch, and Instagram made a bunch of reputable sources come up, and then you have to click the see more results here prompt to actually get the anti-vax stuff. And CNN is saying, oh, that's not enough. That's like right here, shoving the mess in a bed under the bedroom. Shoving a mess in a bedroom under the bed. And so they're essentially saying that these people who are following these accounts, these people who are participating in this stuff, big tech needs to fix them. Facebook needs to get rid of them. This information, quote unquote, is dangerous. So let me try to understand something here, people. Because this argument that CNN is making, that it is the incumbent upon Instagram and Facebook and other tech companies to regulate what we see and to teach us what is the correct way of thinking, is one founded on an extreme epistemological error. And that error is nothing more than thinking that individuals do not have the capacity to reason. There are plenty of individuals who, with both the capacity to reason and the wealth of facts at their disposal, can make a conclusion that the misinformation put out by anti-vax groups is nonsense. If there are individuals who do not make that conclusion immediately, and they have apprehensions either for religious reasons or for pseudoscientific reasons, it makes no difference. They have apprehensions in the first place, and guess what? That is their right to believe that. It is their right to operate in whatever they want to operate in, even if it's not the truth. It may not be good for them, it may not be right for them, but it is not incumbent upon platforms which supposed to be neutral, which supposed to simply be bullhorns by which we speak in this sort of square, this sort of agora of thought. It's not their place to engage in this kind of stuff. So not only is this epistemological error concerning to me, it presumes, this idea that skepticism to a dominant narrative is dangerous. If the dominant narrative is sound, and I do believe the dominant narrative about vaccines to be sound, I do believe vaccines are largely safe, I do believe that vaccines, even though they have hiccups sometimes and there are people that do suffer a lot of side effects and may die, those are statistically marginal cases, I do believe vaccines are safe. But if that orthodoxy is so strong, how do you discern that if it doesn't have anything to be in relation to? All concepts and ideas exist in relation to each other, my friends. So I don't know what bad is if I don't have an understanding of good, or and vice versa. These things are sort of interrelated. They talk to each other. These concepts and principles talk to each other. If we don't have, I don't care how crazy the alternative of what is considered to be quote-unquote fact is, if we don't have a constant conversation, then guess what? We don't really, number one, refine our thesis. We don't really refine our thesis, and we leave ourselves open to intellectual attack from quote-unquote legitimate sources. Number two, we don't really get a chance to explore the minds of skeptics beyond saying they're crazy, which is dismissive and not walking in epistemic humility. And number three, we open ourselves up to a censorious mentality that is paternalistic in nature, that CNN is arguing for, that is primarily concerned with shutting down dialogue, shutting down debate, and keeping strict, overarching orthodoxies in their place unchallenged. Knowledge, my friends, to answer the question that I posed at the beginning of this monologue, knowledge, my friends, is simply the systematic, act of procuring more information about the world and testing that information secondarily through reason. Because information about the world that exists beyond my perceptions, that exists beyond my external beliefs and biases, is objective. My external beliefs and biases, even if they are informed by objective principles, are still emerged from a subjective genesis. So we are in constant combat, my friends, with the subjective genesis of our thoughts and the objective reality of the truth. Cicero said, "There is nothing more sweeter than the light of the truth," a phrase that Socrates used in the Republic and said dialogue is how we get there. My friends, it is not up to big tech to fight misinformation. It is up to you to use your faculty of reason in a positivistic, it means an empirical, an observatory understanding of the world to weigh that which is said with that which is and that which is empirically verifiable. That is your duty. Big tech, Facebook, Instagram, none of them have the right, either epistemically or otherwise, to dictate to you how to do that. It is very clear within our faculties how one does that. We do it every day. Reason is not necessarily a simple process that we undertake. We do it every day. It is passive. But when reason goes from being passive to being active, that's when change happens. So my friends, don't rely on a platform to protect you from your own misunderstandings. Don't rely on a platform to protect you from your own inability to combat lies, from your own inability to combat mistruths. Because guess what? When that platform protects you, what happens when you go beyond that platform? You will still be as vulnerable as a carcass covered in blood thrown into a shark-infested water. Get out of the shark-infested waters. Stop relying on the sharks to protect you. And rely on yourself to discern what is truth and what is not truth. Because guess what? You have a divine capability within yourself to do that. No one else can or should do it for you. Think on it. As always, my friends, I love you, and please stay pensive. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this message, please be sure to support my channel through PayPal. My PayPal is @officialcwatson, as you see on the screen. Any amount helps. Thank you so much, and stay pensive.